Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar using AI to develop digital literacy, language, life, and work skills. So as you are entering the room, if you're joining us live, if you wouldn't mind to put in the webinar chat where you're joining us from so we can kind of connect in that way. I'm here in Gulfport, Florida. And just let us know where you are joining us from in the chat. Thank you, Renee, Clearwater, Carol, Tallahassee, hello, Dawn, Milton, Florida, Soad from Orlando. We got folks from Georgia, Daytona State College, from Miami. Wonderful. So, as we all know, artificial generative intelligence, or AI, offers us and our learners an unprecedented opportunity to support the development of literacy, language, and critical thinking skills. In our world of rapidly widening digital divide, it's really paramount that we as educators integrate the use of these powerful and accessible applications in our teaching and in our classrooms, right, with our learners. So in our webinar today, we'll model strategies for applying digital literacy, language, life, and work skills. We'll also clarify some definitions of digital skills and digital literacy. And really, it's ideal for anyone who's engaged in adult education, whether they be teachers, instructional curriculum designers, really just seeking to enhance their and their learners' digital skills. So welcome, everybody. My name is Ramin Yazdanpana, and again, I am honored to be presenting this with IPDAY. Okay, so let's forward here. A couple of key points to review, the basics of Zoom. So if you have a question, please type it into the Q&A option. I'll try to monitor that as we go along. You all will be muted. You'll be only in listen mode. So utilize the chat. I'll also be observing the chat. If you have any questions or any comments, any resources, we are a community of educators. So anything that you'd like to share with me, and as well as our amazing participants who are joining us for our Tech Tuesday webinar, feel free to contribute that in the chat. Together we rise, right, as they say, and we can support each other in our professional growth. So today's presentation is being recorded. It will be archived and available on the IPDAY website within 48 hours. So much thanks to IPDAY for providing that to us all. And if you haven't checked out IPDAY's website, please do. There's a wonderful archive there of Tech Tuesday webinars, Webinar Wednesdays, all kinds of webinar topics that are designed to support adult educators. So please check that out as a resource. Okay, brief overview of what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to talk about a bit of a rationale for digital literacy. We're also going to talk about distinguish digital literacy from digital skills. So both very important. We're going to talk about both of them, but it's helpful to understand the differences. It's helpful to us, and it could potentially be helpful to our learners as well. I'm going to present a digital literacy skills framework. Frameworks are helpful to kind of organize, right, and understand these different aspects of digital literacy and digital skills that we can focus on within our classrooms and our programs. Talk about some integrated activities. So how could we apply these digital literacy and skills within our programs, and with a specific focus on AI as well, okay? And then I will share some resources with you at the end of our presentation here. So just a bit of rationale. Why is this important? Why are we here? Why is this important to us as educators and to our learners? Well, digital literacy supports the acquisition of knowledge and proficiency in a range of academic and professional contexts. So this is clear as day, right? That really digital literacy, and increasingly so, is really a foundational skill set, right? To have, and ever more so, increasingly so, more advanced digital literacy skills are important, right? To accessing other knowledge, to demonstrating that knowledge, and to really to be able to participate, collaborate, compete, engage in today's world. So this should really be, a focus on digital literacy and developing digital skills should really be an essential part of our curriculum and our activities that we're engaging in with our adults. With that said, 73% of workers in entry-level service jobs lack the required digital skills. So if your population of adult learners are seeking kind of entry-level service jobs, or are currently in entry-level service jobs, but like to, progress and get access to beyond entry-level service jobs, we're going to have to recognize that they might be coming in with very basic foundational, or a lack of even very basic and foundational digital skills. So that's something that we can assess. That's something that we can include in needs analyses that we conduct, and again, integrate within our curriculum. Middle skill jobs that require use of digital technologies pay more and provide a career pathway into middle and high skilled jobs. This can be very obvious, right, to all of us, but it is worth really discussing with our adult learners as part of our rationale when we are integrating digital skills and aspects of engaging and using digital tools within the activities that we do. So with adults, with all learners, but especially adult learners, they benefit from understanding and answering the why, right? Why are we doing this? What is the rationale? How is this going to address my immediate needs, right? And that can be workplace needs, that can be life needs. And so the more that we can say, hey, look, this is going to potentially lead to a promotion and to greater income, those can be great external and internal motivators. Now, those who do not have internet access at home tend to have less than a secondary education or earn less than $30,000 a year. So you can see how important having a computer, having internet access at home, and I intentionally say a computer because yes, mobile access is very useful. But I think there's something to be said too with having access to a laptop or a desktop, something that learners can use. It's a little easier to navigate and work and develop certain literacy skills, okay, such as word processing skills, putting together other kind of graphic skills, all these kind of software applications that we utilize, yes, both on mobile, but also it's more easily accessible on a bigger interface, right? So that's something to discuss, obviously in a way that's not, providing any kind of shame or anything like that, but just identifying what is the access that our learners have, what are the needs that they may have, and then once we have that information, we can move forward in helping them to access those resources, right? That's both equipment. So there are programs out there that provide equipment either on loan or by donation or at a reduced cost. And that is also true for internet access. So let me know, please, in the chat if you know of any resources in your area. We're coming from all over the state of Florida, all over the U.S., okay? So if you can maybe share some ideas, some resources of what are organizations that maybe you have heard of or that you have worked with that provide these kinds of access to resources, whether they be hardware, software, or internet access. If you can put that in the webinar chat as we go along, that can be helpful to those of us. And the final bullet here is that digital literacy is a focus in the college and career readiness standards. So, anyone who would like to progress to, get ready for higher academia or just kind of higher skill set, right? Whether that be in an IET program or college and career readiness or, college program. Obviously, digital literacy is and will increasingly be more important. So, digital literacy versus digital skills. So let's distinguish them. Okay, so digital skills focus on what and how. Digital literacy focuses on why, when, who, and for whom. Okay, so let's look at an example. So a digital skill is using the platform ChatGPT, for example, right? And how to use it. So for example, how to use ChatGPT to write effective chat prompts. So that's a skill. How do you write an effective chat prompt? And we'll talk about that here in a minute. And we're all kind of figuring that out, I think, together, right? Since it's such a new resource. But it is a skill. And with any skill, it needs to be practiced. It needs to be developed and refined. It benefits from practice, from feedback, and from use. A good thing about this is that, when you're using artificial intelligence or any kind of these tools that are these artificial generative intelligence, like ChatGPT, they provide feedback, right? So you can have dialogue, get immediate feedback, and get actually the software to help us to write more effective chat prompts, to write different chat prompts, to analyze what the feedback and the information that we receive. We can model that, do that in class, and then have students practice that outside of class. So that's the skill. That's a digital skill. Literacy is when would you use ChatGPT as for example. How could it help to support your learning goals? And what are the ethical and societal implications of using artificial generative intelligence? Okay, so you can see that the skill is what and how, what is it and how do you use it? And then the literacy is why. Right? Why do you use it? It's a little bit more kind of critical analysis, critical thinking. When could you use it? Right? And for whom? Right? Would you use it for? So this is where then we take the skill and then we can now start to apply the skill within specific contexts that our learners need. Right? Whether it's in the present or in the near future. So that can be professionally, it can be personally. And this is where we can start to modify our instruction to meet students' needs, right? And to address their goals and to work towards their goals and to apply these digital skills towards those goals. So I hope that's helpful. Let me know that you're out there. Does this make sense, the difference between digital skills and digital literacy? Let me just see a Y or no, or yes or no in the yes. Excellent. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Soad. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Don. Thumbs up. Great. So it's important that we share this. I'm sharing this with you, but I encourage you to share this with your adult learners as well, as understanding this. Okay, we have skills and we have these literacies. They're kind of like the two wings, right? That help us to fly and help us to navigate. But there are some important distinct differences. And this is also how we can now start to implement these digital literacy and digital skills in the classroom. So we can demonstrate the difference of digital literacy and digital skills, just like I did there with that ChatGPT example. We can ask learners to provide examples in their personal and professional lives. So this is so important. You know, we always have to keep in mind and remember, okay, that we are, you know, as much as we can support our learners in applying these skills, okay, in their personal and professional lives for their immediate needs, then that addresses their needs. It adds to their motivation, right? They get those endorphins. They're like, oh wow, they can see the progress. They can see the rationale and the effect that these skills, developing these skills, have on improving their lives. And all of that can lead to persistence, right? And we know that adult learners, that's one of the main challenges, is staying the course, right? Being persistent, coming to class consistently. So the more that we can kind of address those immediate needs and apply these skills to addressing those challenges and those needs, the more that kind of snowballs into greater motivation, greater confidence, greater happiness, right? And clear understanding that they're not wasting their time by coming to our class, right? That it is helping them. It's worth it, right? It's worth the incredible effort that our learners make. Oftentimes coming to class, you know, after a long day of work, family responsibilities, you know. And so, you know, anything that we can do to support that motivation, that persistence, that willpower is what we need to do. Obviously, integrate skills and literacies within the content. So, you know, if it's not already done within your curriculum, you can look at your lesson plans and say, okay, how can I integrate digital skills and digital literacy into this topic? Whether it's a focus on GED prep or, you know, a grammar lesson, any kind of skill kind of lesson, right? And so, you know, we have to think I mean, as educators, we are in the middle of everything, right? We are the bridge to connect content to our learners' lives, all right? To their needs, to meet their needs. So, you know, the more that we can help to integrate these into into our activities that build that bridge, right? Of providing this skill development, this literacy development in a way that meets their needs, that's what we can do. So we can also, it's not just a top-down thing though, right? It's also our learners are involved in this process. So we're collaborators. And we need to ask learners how they plan to use digital skills and literacies in their lives. So always getting them to reflect on how they use digital skills and digital literacies in their lives, and then how they would like to and how they potentially could apply greater digital skills and develop the digital skills in their lives. Now, I'm saying there a lot, but we also have to ask ourselves that same question, right? Because it's a spectrum of digital literacy, just like anything, right? Just like, you know, our vocabulary range or our ability to do math or play an instrument, okay? So we might be on a certain proficiency level, but we always need to ask ourselves, hey, how can, you know, starting with ourselves as educators, how do we plan to use digital skills and literacies, you know, in our lives? How can we improve and continue to develop our own, proficiency in these different areas? So that's what we're here do. That's what we're doing today, right? So I'm preaching to the choir, but it's so important to preach to the choir because I want to support, and applaud you being here today and engaging in your professional development. And I encourage you to, support others in that process as well. Okay, and then finally here, have learners demonstrate their knowledge and ability in and out of class. So this is a big one. So demonstrating their knowledge ability, yes, in class, But out of class is the key kind of like part of this here, because we know that there are challenges. No matter how motivated our learners are, and no matter how awesome we are as educators, it can still be challenging for adult learners to come to class consistently. Just things come up, they can't make it. So if we can provide out of class tasks, right, that are both individual as well as collaborative, then we can help our learners to continue to progress, to develop language skills, literacy skills, as well as digital literacy, right, skills out of the classroom. So if they can't make it to class that day, okay, we have a task, we have a project, we have something that they can do that applies digital literacy, digital skills outside of the class, that's integrated with other skills and literacies that we're focusing on in the classroom. I'm just going to pause for a second and look over here at the chat. And Gonzalo says, you can't overstate the point of being able to apply what we learn in class right away in their daily lives. Thinking, interpretation skills to help them simplify an extremely complicated world. This is gold for students that feel lost in such a complex world. Wow, that's powerful, Gonzalo. Thank you so much for sharing that. You're so right. So if we can help to bring some order, right, in the often chaotic and complex world, that's what people come to our classrooms for, is to provide that structure, to provide that support. Okay, so here's some different areas of digital literacy skills that we can look at. Okay, so one is computer and mobile. So this can include completing tasks to support learning, effectively using hardware and software, right? Have the resilience to learn and utilize technology. So that kind of goes back to what Gonzalo was saying there, as far as like building that resilience, right? Building that motivation, building that confidence to learn and utilize technologies. This stuff can be intimidating. I mean, just learning anything new is difficult because our brains are saying, why are you doing this? Like, why are you spending the time and the energy and the resources to do this? You're right. Like, you don't want to do this. You're busy enough. Okay, go do something else that you're already good at, and that's easy. So this is where this resilience, right, and this willpower kind of needs to be cultivated, and this confidence. So, especially with something with technology, where maybe our students, again, don't have those kind of foundational skills, and they don't have that confidence to build on. So another area here is, of course, the internet, right? Connecting to the internet. How do you do that? How do you use it? How do you navigate it? So, and again, this is a spectrum of proficiency. Some is just the basic things of like, using a web browser, right? Another though is like, how do you get more skillful in navigating the internet, using prompts that are going to get us to where we want to be more effectively. And now as we are using more and more artificial generative intelligence, software and tools, how do we utilize those effectively? All right. Communication. Oh, excuse me. Let me stay with the internet. So understanding the web page layout. So that's just like understanding graphic, right? Literacy. Okay. Understanding design literacy. And once we can kind of understand, okay, here's a web page layout. What are these 3 lines maybe mean? On a web page that maybe is a drop-down menu, or maybe it's YouTube and you're navigating like how to go to certain timestamp markers to navigate a video, or maybe even sharing a video. How do you embed a video, right? These are things that I actually go over with my adult educators or teachers, okay, to get them to understand how can we develop our digital literacy to support our adult learners. And then obviously exchanging information online, right? How do we effectively do that? And that can be things like composing Emails, how do we do that? How do we do that in a way that's culturally appropriate? Our students many times are coming from different cultural backgrounds that have different expectations of communication and of composing, right? An email. And that can be between friends or between colleagues or, with employers. And so, understanding what are those expectations of composing an email and exchanging ideas and information is so important. Communication, safely communicate with others, select tools and platforms to meet goals. And then finally, information literacy, find and evaluate information to accomplish goals and share an ethical and responsible manner, right? So those can be things like, how do you cite resources effectively, not only to give credit for something, but also, to help us navigate and keep track of resources. Let me just look over here at the chat, and Souza says, one of my students sat in the parking lot of McDonald's for internet connection. So that, Souza, thanks for sharing that. I think that's the reality, okay, of a lot of many of our learners is, depending on things like, internet connection from a McDonald's or a coffee shop or something like that. And that's fine. I get it. But if we can make their life easier by identifying resources where they can have that internet connectivity at home, okay, and understanding like how much more convenient and accessible, right, that would make or resources, development of knowledge and skills, and really leading to, directly, as we discussed before, to better paying jobs, right, and greater opportunities. So just that one kind of thing there, that accessibility, to resources can make a huge difference for that person's lives, for their family, right, and their future generations. Okay, so this is, I'm going to share this brief here in this resource where I pulled this from here. So this is a digital literacy brief, and we're going to go over some key points here from this brief that focus on integrated activities. Okay. So that's a resource here for you to access. And these are some different areas that we can focus on. How do we integrate activities? How do we integrate developing digital skills and digital literacy into things that we're doing already, okay, in our courses? So the first is critical thinking, right? So students must have the skills and knowledge necessary to draw on inductive and deductive reasoning, systems thinking, analysis, right, to evaluate evidence, opinions, information. I mean, there's just so much information being thrown at all of us. How do we make sense of that? How do we think critically? So a list of questions about the, reliability and validity of different websites, okay, that they visit as they do their work, to remind students to think critically about the information they find online. I mean, we can all benefit from this, right? And think about it. It's like, okay, where is this source coming from? What's their agenda? Let's look at several different sources and let's come to our own analysis and understanding of what we are, what we're reading, what we're watching, what people are saying. Another area here is communication. So just, students really have to have the skills and knowledge necessary to express themselves creatively and for a variety of purposes in different contexts, using the appropriate platforms. So one example here is just teaching basic formatting with Word and how to search for and select templates for different communication purposes. For example, resumes, cover letters, a general business letter, a brochure. Okay, so developing that ability to use basic Word formatting, and then being able to use those tools to promote themselves, okay, through a resume, through a cover letter, through a business card, through a website. All right. So all of those things are ways that we can both help them develop literacy skills, language skills, and communication skills that it can directly help to promote them and push them right into greater opportunities. The next is processing and analyzing information. So media literacy activities that provide support on identifying biases, okay, into like internet searches. So these are classroom activities that help learners use software like Excel to organize and analyze numerical data. So obviously like a great application is this is like a personal budget, right? Or a budget for a business. So these are ways that we can, again, apply some of these different categories, areas into the skills and activities that we're doing. Okay, I'm going to continue here. Oops. 3 more here. So self-awareness. So these can be student folders that contain a checklist of skills and knowledge. The teacher can provide students time to review and update checklists on a monthly or weekly basis, right? And checking off the skills that they gained over the previous month. So this is really, this self-awareness, as I mentioned before, is so important for students to provide, to receive feedback. That feedback can come from us as teachers, from their peers, and from themselves, so they can see the progress that's being made. I mean, I'm going through a shoulder injury right now, and just that little progress I'm making, every day, every week, provides me with the motivation to keep going, right? The physical therapist I'm working with providing that feedback helps me to kind of keep going. We need to be providing that feedback, and also we need to allow opportunities for students to reflect on the improvements that they're making, and of course identify areas that they want to continue to improve on. The next is problem solving. So learners are asked to identify a problem in their community, guided to use survey technologies to better understand a range of opinions on an issue, and then instructed to collaborate using technology to craft a presentation on the issue and possible solutions. So a great way for encouraging our learners to engage with the community. It's so empowering to say, hey, these are the challenges that are happening, right? And that can be at the school level. It can be at their children's school level. It could be at their job site. It can just be in their general neighborhood. So identifying problems, getting different perspectives, right? Getting them to engage with different folks, to ask them their opinions on things in a very open way. And then having them synthesize that information, analyze it, and present it, okay? So again, these can be individual tasks, but they can also be collaborative tasks. They can be in class, and they can be outside of class, all right? Problem solving is great. And finally, navigating systems. So having students use mapping technologies to identify actual destination and modes of transport that they're likely to use. That could be bus scheduling, that could be, flight schedules, that can be, maps, identifying different kind of GPS technologies. So you get the idea. I'm just looking over here at the chat here. Gonzalo says the communication piece in written and spoken language is maybe the biggest consequence of how we use or misuse technology. We need to spend a majority of class time on written and spoken communication. So yeah, that's a great observation, Gonzalo. And I know there's limited class time often. So focusing on that spoken communication and written, but I would say even spoken, because oftentimes, especially for our English language learners, they don't have that opportunity to speak in English in this case, and they don't have that opportunity to receive feedback, right? Things like reading and listening and writing all are so very important, but those can be done kind of either asynchronously or worked on outside of class. So yeah, I agree with that, Gonzalo. Thank you. Okay, as Aristotle said a very long time ago, those who wish to succeed must ask the right preliminary questions. Okay, and this gets to they monitor their own learning progress, but it's also, asking the right questions to analyze, ourselves, the world, and understanding kind of how we can utilize these technologies to get the information we need. We first have to ask a good question. So here are some activities, and I'm pulling some of these resources here from this gentleman here, Brent Warner. I'm going to put this in the chat for you to check out the citation here. Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to copy this. This is from TESOL International Association. Okay, they have a lot of good resources, but I'm going to put this in the chat for you all to have that resource. And these are really nice. These are AI activities to practice prompt writing. So this one is a beginning kind of skill, right? So this can be for ESOL learners. This can be for literacy development. These can be for anybody really who is new to prompt writing. So we have this sentence stem activity. So we can provide a few basic examples. So I feel blank when I blank. Okay, so I feel great when I take a nap. Can you all provide me with a sentence stem? You provide your own sentence stem there. Okay, so I feel blank when I blank. So you can provide some examples here, just so we can engage and interact here. I feel wonderful when I'm in nature. Thank you, Dawn. That's lovely. That's lovely. And if I feel accomplished, when I solve a problem. Yes, absolutely, Dom. I feel energized when we speak about our life's purpose and mission. Gonzalo, you're inspiring me here. I feel refreshed when I travel. So just from these examples, we see this beautiful vocabulary. We also start to understand, we're building connections, right? And rapport with each other. And we get to engage in some self-reflection. So, and you can see how these sentence stems help with this, right? And so we can brainstorm, we can apply these things with brainstorming sessions with chatbots, okay? So, ChatGPT is like a chatbot, okay? And you have a lot of different chatbot. But using a chatbot, learners can ask for sentence stems related to their chosen topic. For instance, if a student chooses sports, they might ask, can you give me a sentence stems about sports? Okay, so this is actually, generating sentence stems. So we can use this technology to generate sentence stems. But we can also have our students generate their own kind of activities, okay, using this kind of approach. So the chatbot can provide stems like, my favorite sport is blank because blank, or when I watch blank, I feel blank. So let's all do this one. My favorite sport is soccer because I grew up playing it. Okay, so what's your favorite sport? Let's use this sentence stem here. My favorite sport is blank because blank. I'm curious. My favorite sport is basketball because I played it for years. Yes, Jesus. I love basketball too. Any other sports? My favorite sport is baseball because I work with baseball players. That's so cool, Renee. Okay, again, my favorite sport is volleyball because I played it for years. My wife is Turkish and they have an amazing women's volleyball team. So there you go. So you can see how these sentence stems help us to reflect, share, okay? And these just simple sentence stems can lead us to further conversations and engagement. So a fun way to even start a class with or end a class with. Okay. Oh man, I could read these all day long. All right. Okay, so now we go to an intermediate level. So building vocabulary and practicing polite commands. So research and vocabulary collection. So this is the activity. Students identify and list 10 words that they find challenging or unfamiliar. So the prompt can be like this. A beginner example can be, if the words are counterfeit and envious, for example, let's say those are two vocabulary words. A prompt might be, can you please write a dialogue between two people and include the words counterfeit and envious? So that's something that you can provide learners as a chat prompt, okay? That includes those words, and again, putting those quotation marks around counterfeit and envious. An intermediate example is, I'm going to write the first few sentences of a story, and I'd like you to complete the story. So this is the prompt, okay? I'm gonna write the first few sentences of a story, and I'd like you to complete the story. I stared across the bedroom at my husband of 16 years, then looked down at my beautiful and treasured engagement ring, a counterfeit. I was envious of the life I should have had. All right, so maybe we can provide that initial, story, beginning to the story. Maybe we can co-construct that, right, with our learners. So these are different ways that we can, again, utilize these tools, right, like ChatGPT, to help us to develop, in this case, vocabulary and writing skills. Okay, so there are a lot of different examples and activities and resources. I'm actually going to copy and paste some in the resource list for you. Oh, excuse me, in the chat for you. So here are some. I'm going to do it in 2 copy and pastes. Here's the first list, and here is the second list. So to continue our professional development outside of this webinar, here are some additional resources. Again, they're in the chat here. And some of these are some links to other webinars that have been presented through IPDAY as well. Okay, everybody, that is all the time I have today. Please feel free to reach out and connect with me. My name again is Ramin Yazdanpana. This is my email. I would love to connect with you. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn and anything like that. But again, we're all in this together. The more we can network, the more that we can connect, the better. And you can always also connect with me through my newsletter as well. So I'm going to put this in here. This is a free newsletter that I publish every week, and that archives to some other resources around ESOL, teaching literacy, effective habits, right? Self-regulated learning, professional development opportunities, other digital literacy. So I encourage you to connect with me through there as well. Please give IPDAY your feedback using that feedback survey. There will be another incredible webinar provided through IPDAY tomorrow on work keys assessments for NRS and career readiness. So if you'd like to attend that, we'd love to have you. I just want to thank everyone at IPDAY for all the incredible work you're doing. I want to especially thank all of you for everything that you do. You're amazing, okay? Your learners are so fortunate to have you in their lives. I just applaud you, and I want to encourage you to just keep up the great effort, the great professional growth, and thank you all so much for being here.